this is my review of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Okay, so this episode picks up immediately where the last episode left off, with Koichi going into Rohan's house and going to watch him work, and with Josuke and Okuyasu notably becoming suspicious and deciding to tail him. So here's the thing. Koichi goes into his office and sees him penning up some manuscripts. In a matter of hours, might I add, since according to himself, he's been penning manga all night, and he's pretty much done with the next manuscript that he needs to do. And the main reason he explains later is because he's taken inspiration from the pages that he's taken from Koichi, and Koichi eventually realizes something is wrong. So, and that winds up being the catalyst. But basically he's been working. He reveals that he's been working on the manuscripts all night, and case in point, has successfully basically completed the entire manga in a matter of minutes. And it's a very comical scene where Rohan is shown to be a master mangaka. He's able to pen things with such precision that he's literally able to fling ink onto the page and have it be perfect for what he needs. It's a little weird and a little bit funny, but it works. But in any case, after watching Rohan work, Koichi is initially confused by what Rohan is saying, but Rohan reveals that he needs more pages to actually continue to inspire his work, pointing out that by the time he's done, Koichi is going to exist as a masterpiece within his manga. And Koichi unravels again, and remembers what exactly happened with Heaven's Door, but as Rohan starts taking pages out of Koichi, Okuyasu and Josuke kind of show up on his front doorstep and begin ringing the doorbell to see if Koichi's there, or even if the manga artist himself is there. And while Rohan looks out the window to contemplate how problematic this could potentially be for him, and about how he doesn't really have any interest in them and wants to see if he can find a way to make them go away, Koichi manages to escape down the stairs by himself despite having all of his limbs be unfurled, and manages to make it to the front door and attempts to warn Josuke and Okuyasu about what's going on. However, it's quickly revealed that the second Koichi goes outside of the mangaka's house, he suddenly forgets any sort of information that he would have had that would have been useful for Okuyasu and Josuke to come and rescue him. And as it turns out, this is actually tied to the thing that Rohan did last episode, which is that Koichi can't do anything that would potentially harm Rohan. So basically, Koichi can't ask for help because if he does, he'll immediately forget what he was trying to do, and won't be able to remember. But the second Rohan is no longer in danger, his memories come flooding back. So basically, because of what Rohan did, Koichi temporarily loses his memories of whatever's going on. And eventually, realizing he's been defeated, Koichi returns back to the mangaka author's office, where he continues to become part of Rohan's masterpiece. However, as it turns out, Okuyasu picked up that something was wrong and barges directly into the mangaka author's room. And as it turns out, Koichi, in his escape attempt, actually cut his hand, which was enough of a signal for Okuyasu to realize that something was wrong, and he proceeds to try and fight Rohan. But as it turns out, Rohan was prepared for this, and because he penned up his manuscript ahead of time, he was able to completely incapacitate Okuyasu, who basically just glimpsed at his manga and just literally unraveled and collapsed. He's basically just a pile of paper on the floor. But Rohan realizes that that's not going to be the end, and that Josuke is outside of his office as well, waiting and contemplating whether or not he should leave and get help. Sure enough, Okuyasu and Koichi are ecstatic about that idea, because they realize that not only not only would they be able to get Jotaro for help, but because Koichi's in danger, Yukiko would actually come to help as well if she knew about Koichi's predicament. Because Koichi would because she still is very much in love with Koichi, that's been established, and the fact that if she finds out that Koichi's in danger, she will rush to help regardless of what the situation actually is. So yeah, they're pretty ecstatic, but then Rohan reveals that's not gonna happen and reveals that he actually did something to Okuyasu that prevents that from happening, and has Koichi read it aloud so that they can reveal what's going on. But in any case, it's revealed that Okuyasu will commit suicide by immolation should Josuke try to help. And case in point, Okuyasu's body begins acting on its own and setting itself on fire. And which is pretty easy considering that Okuyasu is currently a book. At which point Josuke realizes he has no choice but to help and rushes in, with his eyes closed, might I add, since he quickly realizes that if he stares at the manga pages, he will unravel much like Okuyasu and Koichi did. And Rohan quickly realizes this and tries to figure out a situation in which he can actually get Josuke to open his eyes. And at first he decides to start throwing pen tips at Josuke to try and get him to open his eyes by basically stabbing him in the face at a long range, which doesn't work. So at which point Rohan realizes he needs to adopt another strategy, and quickly because Josuke is quickly gaining ground on him. So he starts looking through the pages that he's taken from Koichi, and eventually realizes that if Josuke's hair is insulted, he will attack him, which will give him an opportunity to actually incapacitate him with his stand. And sure enough, Rohan goes full on insulting on the hair. He says that it's ugly and that it could work for a bird's nest, and basically a whole bunch of other derogatory things that cause Josuke to get mad and attack him. And because Josuke opens his eyes, Rohan realizes that he most likely won and shows Josuke his manuscripts, which he believes will actually secure him the victory, but is then thrown for a loop when it doesn't work and he goes flying into a bookshelf. At which point the bookshelf collapses on top of him, and Koichi's pages return to him, and Okuyasu and Koichi return to normal as well. At which point the two begin contemplating why exactly it didn't work, and Koichi reveals that he actually knows the reason, but he dismissed it because he thought that Josuke was making it up at the time. But basically what happened was during the events of Stardust Crusaders, and a little thing that was briefly discussed at the beginning of the series. It's more elaborated on here, but it was revealed at the beginning of the series that because of Dio, Josuke wound up developing a stand, but because he at the time was 8 and wasn't able to and didn't have the temperament to actually wield the stand in battle, it caused him to develop a fever much like his half sister Holy did in part 3. So, and sure enough, we as the audience know that once Dio was vanquished, the stand would basically that incident would basically devolve itself, and it would eventually and basically Josuke would just go back to normal after that. However, Tomoko didn't know that, as did anybody else, and Tomoko immediately drove Josuke to hospital the second he developed a fever. But at around the time, a blizzard happened and they weren't able to actually get to the hospital. At which point it's revealed that a young student who's basically a spitting image of how Josuke looks right now. But basically the young man volunteered to help Tomoko get her car out of the snow, and because of that, Josuke was able to get to the hospital and get the medical attention that he needed. So, after the incident with Dio was resolved, Tomoko tried to get in contact with the student and properly thank him, but for whatever reason they couldn't find him anywhere. He just kind of showed up. He showed up for that one incident, and then disappeared forever. Nobody knows what happened to him. Nobody knows where he was, and nobody even knows if he was a student or not. He just kind of showed up in an outfit, and it's unknown what actually happened to him. But in case Josuke, just realizing that the man played a very big role in saving him, actually adopted his hairstyle and fashion choice, pointing out that the main reason he gets so upset is because he sees the fact that somebody insults his hair as a personal insult against the man who saved him, and because of that, every time somebody insults his hair, he goes into a blind rage and just attacks everything indiscriminately until he takes out the person that insulted him. And Rohan, hearing all of this, takes up a pen and begins writing this down, pointing out how beautiful it is and how he can't wait to make it part of his manga. And Koichi and Okuyasu can't help but be a little bit amazed at how dedicated Rohan is. Let me point this out. He got pummeled into a bloody pulp by Crazy Diamonds and was flung into a bookshelf. The bookshelf then collapsed on him, which has caused him to become pinned and most likely more injured than he was. And yet, despite the fact that he's now currently bleeding out on the floor, he takes the opportunity to write down what Koichi just told him. But unfortunately, Josuke, who has been going into a blind rage, just destroying everything, eventually finds the manga author and again finishes him off for good, which causes Pink Dark Boy to go into hiatus for a month. So yeah, this episode not only establishes that Heaven's Door can be defeated, particularly if someone is in such a blind rage that they don't actually see Heaven's Door itself. And also the bumper card for the middle of the episode reveals that it actually is very similar to Rohan Kishibe's manga character Pink Dark Boy, at least aesthetically. It's the same general shape, so it's implied that it's the same, that they're one and the same. But yeah, basically I was right. We haven't actually seen Rohan stand up here in person, but the fact that Pink Dark Boy bears a striking resemblance to it is evidence that it does have a physical form, and we will see it again. But basically the reason it doesn't work is because Josuke goes into a blind range if anybody insults his hair, and it means that Josuke never actually saw the manuscript, and instead just attacked Rohan for no apparent reason other than he insulted his hair, which caused him to go into a blind rage and he didn't see it. So yeah, and this episode also reveals a bit about Josuke's backstory, about how he developed his stand and why he is the way he is. So yeah, that's a big lore reveal that happened in this episode, and it's very much interesting. But in any case, yeah, that's my review of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. What did you guys think? Let's get a discussion going in the comment section down below, or over on my Discord server, link in the description. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, be sure to follow me on Facebook and on Twitter in the description below. And also be sure to check out my Patreon in the description below as well. It's only a couple bucks a month. It really helps me out, and you guys get access to a bunch of cool perks down my way saying thanks. So be sure to check those out in the description below as well. But in any case, thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace!